welcome back to the Mad Spideyverse. I'm Mad Spidey. Thanks for tuning into my channel. So today it's going to be another one of my statue collection videos. Probably the series that I'm most well known for, or in the community anyway. Basically, if you've never seen any of these videos before, I pretty much go through one per episode, my entire statue collection, which is quite a few. They are all Bowen Designs videos. So if you've never heard of Bowen Designs, they were like one of the premier statue companies back in the mid to late 90s to early 2000s. Once they got the Marvel license, pretty much they went ham and yeah, pretty much did a whole massive range over about probably decade to 2 decades. Releasing 5 phases and hundreds of statues, mini busts and mini statues, and I amassed quite a lot in my early collecting days. Pretty much all of mine are all mini busts and full-size statues, because the mini statues were just literally a smaller scale of the full-size statue in most cases. But today it will be another mini bust, and it is Thunderbird. Thunderbirds are gold. No, it's not that Thunderbird, or Thunderbird, should I say? So X-Men character Thunderbird, bit of a short-lived character. Obviously, I don't know recent history whether they end up bringing him back. So, as you know, in comics, nobody's ever really dead. But yeah, he was a short-lived character, unfortunately, but a very cool character in the same aspect. So, being a Bowen Designs, the trademark grey box with a sort of collage of characters and names and things like in there. With the mini bus, they will generally have a couple of pictures of the sculpt. If there are multiple versions, sometimes there's different costumes, or maybe there might be a modern and a classic released at the same time. They will quite often have them pictured on the side, but with the details of who sculpted the prototype, and sort of like height and things like that. But the thing that the mini bus does that the full size and the mini statues did not, was actually put a synopsis of the character, and usually 2 pictures of the character's first appearance or something close around. Now, Giant Size X-Men, I believe, or Giant Size X-Men 1, I believe, was his first appearance. Quote me if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But I'm pretty sure it was. And then generally the bottom book is a more recent book that was done closer to the release of the actual statue or bust itself. Now, in the case where I'm pretty sure he was, as I said, very short-lived character, I've noticed the bottom book is an X-Men classic. So, which is basically reprints of early Uncanny X-Men issues. But the other thing to take note of is the sticker on the bottom. Now, if there's no sticker, it's either fallen off, pretty self-explanatory, or it can be an artist proof, which is even rarer, regardless of the edition number. But this was an edition of 1950. So for the mini bus, that's still sort of getting slightly towards the lower end of the scale, because most of them were sort of like 3,000 to 4,000, right up to about 10,000 worldwide release. So 1950 is starting to get towards a slightly rarer. So this is number 696. I've never been fussed about the numbers. I just wanted to get one of the actual units themselves. But I have, as per usual, waffled on and long enough. Let's open it up and actually show you what it looks like. And obviously, as I always do, slight bit of note. You can either see the word up or the Bowen Designs symbol on the foam. So you open up the right way and you don't sort of pull the top off and it just drops straight out. Alright, so we'll just remove some of the padding there. Alrighty, so it's all in one piece. There's no like adding extra bits or weapons or hands or heads or anything like that, which is always good. And there is Thunderbird himself. So quite a bit of decent detail. So in the early phases, especially with the busts, they would quite often not have arms, or they'd have very, very limited, like it might be just black on the back. So it'd be very limited detail. And as the phases went on, they sort of got more and more detailed, even as even the base themselves quite often was quite plain in the early days, and then they started, you know, obviously getting a little grander and a little bit more design. So if you can actually see that on the camera, so there is quite a bit of etching and design in that base. It's actually quite nice. But then even you got sort of like the detail in his hair and the feathers. Now, obviously, if you ever do, like if you like the character and you're like, oh, I want one of those, just be very careful, because the feathers and part of his headdress there is actually very thin and very, not flimsy, but it could easily break. So just be very, very careful. It is a polystone type product, so it is quite hardy, but yeah, when it's very thin pieces, if you're a bit rough with it or careless, it can break. But yeah, he's a very, very... But it just shows that Bowen Designs didn't, you know, just do your main characters, your Spideys and your, you know, your Wolverines and Hulks and Captain Americas and Iron Mans and stuff like that. They did dive quite deep into the back catalogue of the Marvel Universe, especially with the mini-busts, especially, because they did... Obviously, they were a cheaper thing to make than the full-size ones. And they could sort of do any run they wanted to, whether it was just like, you know, run of 50 or run of 10,000. Obviously, a lesser known character, they generally did smaller sort of runs, because that's a lot of money to spend on something that may not necessarily sell. But it was good to see them dive right into, you know, the B, C, D, you know, the characters that didn't hang around too long, like Thunderbird. So yeah, very good to see like a lot of diversity and things like that in their releases they did over the years. But that'll do for this particular video. Thank you so much for watching. Do all the usual YouTube stuff. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. Leave a comment if you want to. Most of all, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done that. But anyway, time to go. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And Spidey out.